Okay, so get this. Tree of thoughts prompting.
Interesting.
It's this wild new thing in AI, and it's about exploring like tons of possibilities all at once. It's kind of like, you know how a tree has all those branches going every which way?
Yeah, I get you. So how does that apply to AI?
Well, it lets these large language models, LLMs, tackle problems in a much more strategic way. I mean, it's almost, dare I say, human-like?
Human-like, huh? That's a bold statement.
It is, right.
Hmm.
And the funny thing is, it all comes from this idea of chain of thought prompting, which was already a pretty big deal.
Right, chain of thought. That was about guiding those LLMs through a specific line of thinking, step by step.
Exactly. But with Tree of Thoughts, it's like these LLMs are creating their own complex thought maps. They're checking out different paths, and even get this backtracking when they hit a dead end.
Oh, wow. So they're not just blindly following instructions anymore. They're actually figuring things out on their own.
It's like watching an AI brainstorm, for real.
That's wild.
I know, right? And there are some really important parts that make this whole tree thing actually work. The research paper lays it all out.
So what are we talking about? What makes this tick?
Well, the first thing is thought decomposition.
Thought decomposition.
Yeah. Basically, it's where the AI takes a big problem and breaks it down into smaller, bite-sized pieces.
Okay, I can see how that would be helpful, sort of like dividing a giant coding project into modules, right?
Exactly. And then comes this thing called thought generation. That's where the LLM gets all creative.
Thought generation, so it's coming up with ideas.
Totally. For each of those little sub-problems, the LLM comes up with a bunch of potential solutions or thoughts. Like, imagine all these different branches sprouting from the main trunk of our tree. Each one is a different way to tackle the problem.
Okay, so it's generating a bunch of options, but how does it know which ones are good?
That's where it gets even cooler. There's this thing called thought evaluation.
Thought evaluation. You mean the AI is judging its own ideas?
Yep. It actually looks at all those thoughts it came up with and filters out the ones that aren't going to work or don't really fit the problem. It's almost like the AI is its own internal critic.
So it's self-editing. That's pretty amazing.
Right. I mean, that level of self-awareness in an AI is mind-blowing.
It really is. So it's constantly refining its thinking. But then what? How does it actually move through this tree of thoughts?
Good question. That's where we get to state traversal. That's basically how the LLM navigates this whole intricate thought map.
State traversal. So how does it choose which branches to explore?
Well, that's where these things called search algorithms come in.
Search algorithms, like the ones Google uses.
Kind of, yeah. There are things like breadth-first search, where it checks out all the immediate possibilities first. And then there's depth-first search, where it goes deep into one specific path before checking out the others. It's like, those choose-your-own-adventure books.
Yeah, I loved those as a kid.
It's kind of like choosing which path to take in those books. You could explore all the options right away, or you could really dive into one storyline before going back to see what you missed.
And just like in those books, if you hit a dead end, you can always backtrack and try a different path.
Exactly. And that's actually a really important part of this whole thing. It's called backtracking. The AI can revise its decisions based on new information or outcomes. It's what makes Tree of Thought so adaptable. Like, imagine you're playing chess and your initial strategy just isn't working. You would have to adapt, right?
Of course.
Well, that's exactly what the LLM can do with Tree of Thoughts.
So it's learning and adjusting as it goes. That makes it way more effective.
For sure. And all this leads to some pretty amazing real-world benefits. The research paper talks about how 2T is a super powerful tool for solving tough problems.
So it's not just about solving problems, it's about solving them better.
Exactly. Like way more efficiently and effectively.
Yeah.
Because the LLM can explore all these different perspectives and even kind of predict what might happen, the solutions it comes up with are much more thought out.
Oh, I see. It's like it's thinking several steps ahead, like a grandmaster in chess.
Exactly. I could see how this would be a game changer in fields like, well, game playing, obviously, but also things like scientific research or even creative writing.
It's giving AI a whole new level of creativity and problem-solving skills. But surely there are limitations, right? Every powerful tool has its drawbacks.
Well, yeah, there are definitely some challenges. Like, for one thing, all that processing power, exploring all those paths, it can be pretty computationally expensive, especially with super complex problems.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like running a ton of simulations all at once. Gotta take some serious horsepower for that. So what else are researchers kind of struggling with? Well, there's this whole thing about prompt engineering complexity, getting those prompts just right, to guide the LLM's thinking. It's like, it's an art, really. You have to really understand the specific problem and how TT works.
Yeah, it's about finding that sweet spot,
Right.
right? Give the LLM enough freedom to explore, but keep it on track.
Exactly. And then there's the whole question of evaluation.
Evaluation, huh?
Yeah, like how do you actually measure how good the solutions are? Especially with a process this complex, it's not exactly a simple output you're evaluating.
That's a good point. It's not just about getting an answer. It's about understanding the thinking behind it, making sure it's solid. And speaking of reliability, are there any other concerns?
Well, there's this thing about heuristics. Basically, these are like rules of thumb, mental shortcuts.
Oh, okay.
And while they can be helpful, if the LLM relies on them too much, it could lead to solutions that are biased or just not the best.
Right, so it's about balance.
Yeah.
Using heuristics, but not letting them limit the LLM's ability to think critically.
Precisely. So given all this, how is 2T actually being used out there in the real world?
Well, it seems like we're just scratching the surface, but the research paper mentioned game playing as one area where it's showing some really cool results.
Oh yeah, games. 2T has been able to strategize and solve complex games, like sometimes even better than human experts.
It's like having an AI grandmaster. Not just playing the game, but actually learning from its mistakes, coming up with new strategies.
Exactly. And it's not just about chess or Go. This could be huge for any field where strategy is key. Robotics, logistics, even financial modeling.
It's like almost giving AI that strategic thinking edge.
Mm.
So what about creative stuff like writing a novel or composing music?
Yeah, well, 2T can actually be used for generating those kinds of narratives. Imagine, like, you give the LLM a prompt, write a story about a character who discovers a hidden talent, and then it comes up with all these intricate plots, twists, and turns you wouldn't even expect.
It's like having an AI co-writer helping you explore all these creative avenues.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And beyond writing, you could use it for things like code generation, exploring different coding approaches, making the code more efficient, more elegant.
Wow, so 2T could really change the game for software development. But what about fields like medicine or scientific research? Could it have an impact there?
Oh, absolutely. Like in healthcare, imagine 2T helping doctors diagnose complex medical conditions, analyzing patient data, exploring all these potential diagnoses that could lead to faster, more accurate treatments. And in scientific research, 2T could help scientists develop hypotheses, design experiments, analyze data, all in a much more efficient and comprehensive way.
So we're not just talking about a theoretical advancement here.
Yeah.
2T has the potential to really change how we solve complex problems, make critical decisions across all these different fields. So it really feels like we're just getting started with 2T. What's next for this whole thing? Where do we go from here?
Well, the future of 2T is honestly super exciting. Researchers are already looking at ways to make it even more powerful, broaden its reach.
That's awesome.
Yeah, like one area is this thing called multimodal 2T. Basically, it's about letting LLMs process not just text, but also like images, videos, you name it.
Wow. So instead of just reading a report, the AI could analyze like x-rays, videos, get a much deeper understanding.
Exactly. Multimodal 2T could be a game changer for things like, well, medical diagnosis for sure, autonomous driving, even creative fields like music or art.
Wow, giving AI a whole new set of senses to work with, that's incredible. So what other advancements are on the horizon? Anything else cooking?
Oh, there's this really cool idea called human in the loop 2T. It's all about incorporating human feedback, guidance into the whole process, like a true partnership.
Ah, so combining the best of both worlds, human intuition with AI's processing power.
Exactly. Humans could provide the creativity, the ethical considerations, while the AI explores all those possibilities. We could guide the AI towards solutions that are not just technically good, but also ethically sound, beneficial to everyone.
That's a really important point, especially as AI gets more and more sophisticated, integrated into our lives. We need to be able to trust it, understand how it's making decisions.
Absolutely. Transparency, explainability, those are key. And 2T can play a huge role there.
How so?
Well, you know how AI can be a bit of a black box? Like, we don't always know how it arrived at a conclusion. 2T can help shed light on that. We can actually visualize the tree of thoughts, see the logic, the reasoning behind the AI's decisions.
That's amazing. So it's not just about making AI smarter, it's about making it more understandable, more accountable.
Precisely. Especially in fields like healthcare, finance, law, where those AI decisions can have a huge impact on people's lives. That transparency is crucial.
It's like being able to peek into the AI's thought process to really understand how it's thinking.
Exactly. So 2T isn't just about technical progress. It's about reshaping our relationship with AI. We're giving AI the power to think more strategically, more creatively, but we're also making sure that power is used responsibly, transparently, in a way that benefits everyone.
It's a whole new way of thinking about AI, not just as a tool, but as a partner, a collaborator.
I couldn't agree more. It's a really exciting time to be working in this field. 2T is pushing the boundaries of what's possible, and who knows what incredible discoveries and applications are just around the corner.
It feels like we're just at the beginning of this journey, and it's already transforming the way we solve problems, interact with the world. 2T has the potential to really reshape the future, unlock a whole new era of collaboration between humans and machines.
I think so too. It's a journey full of possibilities, and it's just getting started.
Well, that's about all the time we have for today's deep dive. Thanks for joining us on this exploration of Tree of Thoughts prompting. And as always, keep those minds curious and those algorithms humming.